Hong Kong is hot, and Zimbabwe is. All right. This is the last one. Again, I've got a lot of these. Some of them are in the book, but I've got a whole data bank of these kinds of graphs, and they get tedious to show you them over and over. They all show the same pattern. Economic freedom correlates with good stuff. The last thing that good is the environment. This is an environmental performance index that a bunch of green people, I don't know, I think they're Columbia University, they do an environmental performance index. I've looked at it. It's got a bunch of different measures like air pollution and different things. And you might think that, you know, market economies that are rich industrial societies, that they're going to have worse environments. Because, you know, we all know that, you know, businesses pollute. Well, it turns out that, in fact, the Environmental Performance Index, which is put together by a bunch of environmentalists, you know, I didn't make this number up, that if you put that against our Economic Freedom Index, it turns out that the more free, more market societies have better scores on the Environmental Performance Index that these guys put together. You know, this not a surprise to me, frankly, but I think if you listen to the rhetoric of the Green movement, your prior would have been the other. I mean, you would think, geez, Zimbabwe should have the most free, you know, the clean environment. They got the biggest government, the most, you know, I don't know. It's just not true. Yeah.
One thing I kind of issue with here is that we keep using Zimbabwe as an example, but Zimbabwe is not just an economically restricted place; it's also a place that's complete civil turmoil,
right.
And they have a lot of issues that would add to, say, environmental issues or civil rights issues besides just being politically restricted. So, do you have another example where they have at least a civilly stable country, if not economically? That would
well, I think if you look at the Asian countries, I mean, you're going to find the Asian countries also perform extremely low. I mean, you know, in the Environmental Performance Index, and they're pretty stable politically, and you know, reasonably with variation, they're reasonably stable on civil liberties and so forth. They don't all do very well in economic. Some of them do, like Hong Kong does, but you know, Malaysia is middle of the pack. Indonesia's well below average, and they're all going to score very low here. So, yeah, obviously, you're right. These bar charts are they're simple snapshots, and they actually hide a lot of information. They obscure a lot of the detail. To really do this kind of analysis, you want to see the scattergram, you want to see a regression line, you want to control maybe for other factors that are relevant. I don't think that, I think that these results actually hold up to those sorts of attacks, if you want to consider, you know. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of other factors that drive these things as well. But again, it's still, you know, it's still worth noting that the next time someone says we can't have free markets because it pollutes the environment, well, that's not obviously true. I mean, you know, I think actually the burden of proof should be on the other side now. I mean, I've got simple evidences on my side. If you want to argue the reverse, you've got to really work hard now. You've got to torture your numbers, I think, to turn that relationship the other way. So that's the string of graphs. And again, there's a lot more I have, but I don't show them all to you. This is our website. Some marketing whiz came up with this freetheworld.com terrible website name. I just think it's kind of goofy, a little kitschy. I'm a scholar. Freetheworld.com sounds, I don't know, like a porn site or something. But anyway, if you want, you can go to freetheworld.com and you can download the book. You don't need to buy a copy. You can burn an inkjet printer. Go to the Loyola University Library and print off the whole thing. Don't tell them I said that. You can also find a lot of other product. You can also find the spreadsheets with all the data. You can find past editions. Each year there's a special chapter. This year we had a chapter on poverty. Last year we had one on whether freedom spreads from one place to the next. We had one by Bill Easterly on foreign aid. We had one on peace, international war, and economic freedom and peace. So there are topical chapters in there in the books as well. There's also a lot of spin-off projects. Now, we started this, but this enterprise is becoming kind of a snowball now. There's now a state and local, or there's a state and Canadian province index that the Fraser Institute in Canada, which publishes our book. They also do one for the states of the United States and the Canadian provinces. So if you want to know how free the states are relative to each other. You can look at that product. There's a Chinese province one, so there's 14 or 16 Chinese provinces, and so there's an index there. They don't call it an economic freedom index, they call it a Chinese marketization index. Turns out that saying freedom in China is career limiting. So they say marketization, which is a strange word, but that's what they say. There's one for the Indian states, there's one for the Argentinian states. I think the Italians have one for the Italian states. I didn't even know Italy had states, but apparently it does. There's a whole growth industry of doing economic freedom indexes at the subnational level at different places around the world. There are a couple competing projects, like the Heritage Foundation has one, but you shouldn't look at it because it's not very good. You know, the point is, there's a lot of stuff out there, and the nice thing about our website is it's kind of a one place you can go to, and it's got a lot of these links to the other sources of data and whatnot. If you're in an econometrics class or you're in any class, it's a great place to go pick up information. I'm done. I think we have time for questions.